back. It's Hungry Nerd's favorite day, Pie Day.
What? Come on,
3.14.
I get it. I
probably loved it.
That you weren't tucked in wearing your footed pajamas by 8:30 like usual last night.
Not at all.
No, you were at. This guy was at the Garden till 1 in the morning. Yeah.
That's today, basically.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
I understand, and you're 50. You're not equipped for that. Your
phone
phone's ringing, buddy.
It's probably my doctor.
He walked into the studio 3 minutes ago and was like, I totally changed my take on the A block.
It's my doctor.
This guy is...
They said go to bed. Can't be up that late.
This guy.
DePaul losing leads. We start with a duel between the Cowboys.
I love you, buddy.
Former Cowboy and new Seahawk DeMarcus Lawrence did an interview with Seattle's Hawk blogger. Okay, Micah Parsons didn't like that at all. He said, this is what rejection and envy look like with an exclamation point. This is some clown stuff. And he used the clown emoji.
Why'd we bleep out stuff? That's
We
weird.
probably shouldn't have. Then DeMarcus Lawrence replied, calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe he spent less time tweeting and more time winning. I wouldn't have left.
Such nonsense.
Yeah, there was a point, there was like a pivotal play that could have turned the...
But Micah was tweeting. Micah was tweeting.
Hey, and that cost him the game and the season.
Yeah.
And that would cost him DeMarcus Lawrence on the team. So what was your reaction to this?
I have to be on Team Micah on this one.
Really?
On a lot of fronts.
Okay.
First of all, I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence's arc with the Cowboys was kind of a vintage Jerry Jones Cowboys contract and career, which is guy looks good on his rookie deal, a highly drafted player. Mm-hmm. You drag your feet in paying him, so you have to franchise tag him. He then plays awesome on the tag. You tag him again, which then forces you to pay him top of market, and he never reaches those heights again. It's the 2 years leading into his big deal, those 2 years he had 25 sacks. In the 6 seasons since then, he has had 27 sacks. So Micah is correct on many fronts, not the least of which was, like, this contract wasn't there for him with Dallas. This is not, in my opinion, a good contract by Seattle. But more importantly, I don't think when you were one of, and a couple of years, the highest paid player on the team, and the team underachieved, you go to your new team and be like, well, we know that team could never win a Super Bowl, when you didn't really hold up your end of them trying to win a Super Bowl. And it was just unnecessary. Dallas didn't do him wrong. Dallas, they paid him handsomely. He was injured this last year. He hit free agency. Nobody trashed him on the way out of the building. So I didn't see a need for him to be, barking at Micah and mocking the Cowboys. It just seems unnecessary.
Were you happy? Were you okay with Micah's response?
I liked it. I thought that was...
You did not like that.
Why? Tell me.
Look, not every jab needs a response.
I agree with that.
Sometimes people just need to take a punch. Just eat a punch.
I agree with
boom,
that.
they took a shot at me, and I just ate it.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I don't think anyone likes to be told what to do.
Sure.
And as an example, I was working on my garage with my dad, who was a carpenter for 60-some-odd years.
I know this will shock the audience. Wildes' father, a real man's man.
Yeah, has a mustache. And he's like, hey, I was doing stuff. He's like, no, do it like this. I'm like, this guy thinks he knows what's going on. I don't know. I know nothing. And he has so I understand where Micah Parsons is coming from when I say this. I'm like, certainly I've never played football, and I'm not 25, and I'm not on the Cowboys. But I think Patrick Mahomes knows something. And Patrick Mahomes was insulted with a Muppet. And remember, they asked him about this, and he said, classically, it'll get handled when it gets handled. Then he was asked a follow-up question that we don't ever really talk about because the first handle when it gets handled is so cool. We kind of leave it at that. I said, did a lot of people send that to you? And his quote was, not really. Everybody just lets me play. They know how I am. They don't need to send me anything to keep me motivated. And he kept it moving into the rest of the press conference. Why doesn't Micah just, I know they're two different people, but isn't that the way to go about your offseason and any little, that's a little slight. That wasn't even directed at Micah per se.
So here's where I disagree with you. So I'm going to use a different Chiefs analogy.
Okay.
Do you remember Travis Kelce getting in Charvarius Ward's face in the Super Bowl? And it was because Charvarius Ward's a former Chief. And he was asked at Media Day or at something about being on the Niners. And he was like, yeah, I like it. He said, it's way better over here.
Yes.
And then Kelce sees him on the field and starts just screaming like a madman. Like, stay over there. It's better over there. Because it's a former teammate.
I guess so.
And so you're right, you don't have to respond to every perceived slight. But Mike and DeMarcus Lawrence, not only teammates, they play in the same, position group. They're the two best players on that defense. When Dak's hurt, pre-CD, the two best players on the team, and he leaves like, that team's never going to win. If some random person in the media
Brew, for example, is out.
No,
if
but
Brew just tweeting the show's
no, right. But if some random person in the media is like, what show's never going to succeed? First things first. I probably would respond, but I probably shouldn't. But if you left and you're like, I had to get out of there, that show would never work. We all know that show's never going to work. I'm furious. So I think it's different. It's not just random person X talking about the Cowboys. It's your former teammate.
I would also have the same response to DeMarcus Lawrence.
Which is spent less time tweeting.
That won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe you spent less time tweeting and more time winning. I wouldn't have left.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair.
Moving on. By the way, if you want to do a handled when it gets handled thing, Cowboys Seahawks 2026.
Oh, okay. So, or in the playoffs.
Or in the problem is I didn't even think that will be there.
Probably not.
Head to the NBA where the Lakers lost their third game in a row despite Luka filling up the stat sheet. 45 points, 11 rebounds, 6 turnovers. Lakers tied with the Rockets for fourth and dropped 2 games below 500 on the road in the season. Are you worried about the 20-point loss?
No, I actually was very encouraged by that game for tangible purposes and narrative purposes.
Great.
Tangible purpose is this. Luka was awesome. Listen, he's turned the ball over too much with the Lakers. I think it's his 4th game with 5 or more turnovers. He'll clean that up to a degree. But I said this game didn't go exactly how I predicted, but it was pretty close. I said at the end of yesterday's show, I thought we'd get a 34-12-8 from Luka in a loss. We got a 45-11 in a blowout loss. But Luka, looking like Luka, is the second most important thing for the Lakers moving forward. The first just being the overall health of the team, LeBron most notably. Austin Reeves got going.
Yeah.
He had to get going. I thought that was important. I thought that Alex Lynn being so bad that even Reggie Miller making note of it maybe means, like, if there was ever a time where it's like, okay, he can never play again, like, that's good for the Lakers. And so those are the tangible.
Okay.
Narrative purposes this. I mean, maybe LeBron actually was really helping him on defense.
I thought you were going in a different direction.
Where do you think I was going? Go ahead.
I'm not saying he's the MVP.
Well, listen, the MVP is too strong
Not
because of
saying
what
he's the MVP,
Shea's doing.
but
LeBron's
not the MVP.
LeBron's case to be on ballots has been buttressed by these 2 games without him.
Correct.
And by the way, Luka officially out tonight, and the Lakers find themselves as 15-point dogs to Denver. One other piece of good news. Barkley said, kind of as an aside, during the pregame or postgame, I'm not sure, that he expects LeBron is going to miss the rest of the regular season, which is the first tangible piece of evidence. Maybe LeBron's going to be back way sooner than anyone expects because Barkley's been wrong about everything Lakers related all year. So I think LeBron could be back sooner.
Well, do you think that Barkley had real intel or Barkley was just talking?
No, I think he's just talking.
Oh, okay.
And the fact that LeBron, because it was premised on the conversation, why'd LeBron go back to LA? And Barkley was like, well, he wanted to hang out in New York, but didn't want to be in Milwaukee. I think he went back to LA because he is closer he is on a real timeline of rehab and trying to finish it off in Los Angeles. So hopefully, maybe he can play with the team during their next homestand, which I think is on the board at least. But I did not expect them to win this game. In a weird way, if they would have somehow won, but Luka really struggled on offense, that would have been a worse result to me than the one we got yesterday, because I'm not as worried about the single game in the standings as I am Luka getting going.
I also think, again, this is an odd segment where everything that was actually bad for the Lakers turns out to be very silver lining. But also the idea that Luka is out tonight, which means Austin Reeves is going to have to go carry everything. Also, I think Denver wanted that game back from the Jokic triple team. JJ's been up all week worried about the game. Like, good. Next time we see you, we're going to fit. Michael Malone's going to have his counter move. And now I don't know what JJ's planning on doing, but the game no longer feels super relevant without LeBron or Luka. So I assume JJ is going to, I don't know what he's going to do, but I don't think he's going to hold any. I don't think he's going to show anything. It's going to be a very odd game.
You're right. I'm not trying to act like it's all sunshine for the Lakers. They've lost 3 in a row, but they are still 4 losses clear of Golden State, who is the 6th seed. Poor Golden State, we'll get to them in a second. They can't lose, but neither can the Thunder. So the Golden State's still just a half game up on the play-in. And I think the Lakers, if the Lakers were to win tonight, which they're not going to, but if they were to, they'd be the 2 seed again. So the standings are so compacted in the 2, 3, 4, 5 that any loss can be damaging, but they were going to lose when you have 6 games in 8 nights, when you have 3 back-to-backs in a row with 1 day separating, and 2 of your back-to-backs are Denver, Milwaukee, Milwaukee, Denver. Even at full strength, the Lakers are going to struggle in this stretch. What has to happen is Luka look like Luka, and last night he did, and Austin Reeves getting going as well is very important.
All right, finally, Warriors routed Sacramento. Steph only had 11. But they were notable, hitting his career 3, number 4,000 right here. Golden State 13-2 in their last 15, have only lost 1 game that Jimmy has played in, and these haven't been close. They're winning games by 14 points. They've had 5 20-point wins, shooting up about 47% and shooting 37-38% from 3. Are you starting to think that they are a real threat to win the West?
Yeah, so I have to take them seriously at this point. Now, this has been the softest part of their schedule is how this has played out. Like the Detroit they've played, the Knicks they've played, but aside from that, it's been a bunch of the worst teams in the league. But 13-1 by blowing everyone out. What's so impressive about it being since they got Jimmy is Jimmy's had a bunch of games like last night. Jimmy had 6 points last night. Jimmy has as many games of 6 points or less with the Warriors as LeBron has had in his 22-year career. 3 of it is like which is nuts on both ends of it. But Jimmy just being out there has opened things up for them, made them better defensively.
Draymond had 23 last night.
Well, and that to me was, I don't know how closely people watch this game. The Kings' defensive game plan seemed to be, don't care if we lose, Steph's not getting off. And someone, I forget who it was, it might have been a Kings player. Somebody made the point, and I'm like, oh, that's the right point, that the King, or maybe a Warriors player, not a Kings player, pardon me, that they guarded Steph like it was a Davidson game. Like where, you know what I mean, where it's just like he's the only threat, but you're playing an NBA team. So if you do that, you might be able to hold Steph to 11 points, but you're going to get blown out. And so I think the Warriors are right now a credible contender, and I've been the last person to say that, but when you win this much and you have a chance now at moving up in the standings, even though they've been stuck in that 6th spot, but they are getting closer, I have to take them seriously. What? Go.
Maybe.
Well, I think
I do, but it's a little bit like top 3 wide receivers. Like, I do. Like more than Thunder? No.
No, I have them 4th.
No. So
more than Denver? No. And so I agree with you there. But I had the Western Conference contender list ending at 3. I now have to include it to 4, especially with the Lakers as hurt as they are, and until we see when those guys come back.
I'm going to get back on this Rocket train pretty soon.
The Rockets.
Ime.
I like Ime. The Rockets are not a contender.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.